Alright, fight freaks, strap in. So, people can't stop yapping about this wild what if. Jake Paul? Yeah, by the way, subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content. The YouTube guy who throws hands now versus Gervonta Tank Davis, who turns people into memes with his knockouts. I know, on paper it's like bringing a Nerf gun to a bazooka fight. But hey, the circus is half the fun, right? Let's chew on all the madness, angles, and just how insanely weird and maybe hilarious this matchup would be. Alright, let's just dive right in, Jake Paul. The dude's allergic to staying in any one lane, right? People love to dunk on him, but honestly, you'd have to be living under a rock not to notice how much he's shaken up boxing since trading in YouTube prank for actual punches. At first, everyone laughed him off, just another influencer scrapping with other internet weirdos. But he didn't stick to that. Nope, he went after ex-MMA guys who've thrown hands for a living. Look, those wins over Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley, yet twice, and even Anderson Silva, that wasn't supposed to happen. Suddenly, people who'd never even watched a Jake Paul vlog are tuning in, going, wait, is this kid for real? Sure, his opponents aren't exactly fresh off their prime years, and some of them barely boxed before. But let's give the devil his due. The guy trains hard, he's got some skills now. And his right hand? That thing's got some heat. And man, when it comes to selling a fight, the dude is a mastermind. He could hype up a chess match between two squirrels if he wanted to. That's a huge part of why wild matchups, like say Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis, are even a thing people talk about. It's not just about skills, it's about eyeballs and money, and Jake knows how to get both. Oh, and let's not ignore the elephant in the ring. Jake's fighting at cruiserweight, hanging out around 190 to 200 pounds. That's a whole different universe from Davis, who's half his size. If those two squared off, yeah, that size difference would be a big, fat problem. Alright, let's flip the script and talk about Gervonta Tank Davis. The dude's the anti-Jake Paul when it comes to boxing cred. Seriously, Tank's got the kind of pedigree that makes old-school fight fans swoon or grumble, depending who you ask. He's Floyd Mayweather's protege, which, yeah, that's a big deal. And his record? Clean as a whistle. Undefeated, with more knockouts than a Rocky montage. Tank's style is wild. The guy hits like a truck, his hands move faster than my Wi-Fi on a good day. And his ring IQ? Ridiculous. He switches stances like he's just showing off, corners people like he's GPS, and throws punches from angles you'd need a geometry degree to figure out. He's not just hanging around at one weight, either. He's picked up belts in different divisions, proving he's not just a one-trick pony. Usually, you'll find Davis scrapping somewhere between lightweight and light welterweight. So think 130 to 140 pounds. That's not exactly heavyweight territory, and honestly, if you're stacking him up next to someone like Jake Paul, Tank's the smaller guy by a mile. Reach, size, all that. But, man, don't let the numbers fool you. Tank's last few fights? Straight up highlight reels. He's dropping tough opponents like it's nothing and making it look easy. Every time this guy fights, people tune in because you just know someone's getting put to sleep. The hype is real, and honestly, he keeps living up to it. Let's be real. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis? The size gap is just nuts. Jake strolls in at, what, close to 200 pounds. Meanwhile, Tank Davis is hanging out way lower on the scale. So, yeah, unless Davis wants to chug protein shakes and live at the gym for half a year, he'd have to jump like a billion weight classes. Not exactly a walk in the park. Sure, we've seen dudes move up in weight and make magic happen, but going from light welterweight to cruiserweight, that's like skipping all the intermediate levels in a video game and just hoping you don't get clobbered. The difference in muscle and raw power isn't just some tiny detail, it's the whole story. Honestly, Jake would probably show up even heavier than usual on fight night, flexing his size like it's a cheat code. That advantage? Yeah, it'd be the big headline everywhere. Twitter, ESPN, your cousin's group chat. If this fight ever actually happened, you better believe the weight thing would be all anyone talked about. Alright, let's be real. Setting aside the weight difference, the clash in style between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis is just wild. Like, are we watching a boxing match or an episode of some bizarre sports reality show? Jake Paul's whole deal is basically, I'm bigger than you, and I'm going to swing for the fences. He's got that overhand, right? He loves to throw, and yeah, His jab doesn't look terrible these days, but come on, he's still pretty green when you stack him up against actual pros. And his defense? Let's just say it wouldn't win any awards. Against someone with real speed and precision, it could get ugly. Now, Gervonta "Tank" Davis? That dude's got fast twitch muscles for days. He lives for slipping punches, darting in and out, and then boom, he cracks you with something you never saw coming. Guy's a human highlight reel with that knockout power, and he can throw from crazy angles. Good luck landing something clean on him. If these two ever squared up, which honestly would be nuts, Jake would probably try to use his size to just manhandle Davis, shove him around, lean on him, hope he land a haymaker. Meanwhile, Davis would be over there doing his matador thing, dodging, weaving, waiting for Jake to get sloppy so he could light him up. It'd be chaos, probably not super competitive, but hey, I'd watch, if only for the spectacle. Let's be real, Gervonta Davis fighting Jake Paul anytime soon? Yeah, that's about as likely as me winning the lottery without buying a ticket. From Tank's point of view, what's the point? Beating up a YouTuber with minimal boxing chops and a big size advantage. Cool story, bro, but it does nothing for his legacy. Even if he wins, which, let's not kid ourselves, everyone expects, nobody's putting that on his career highlight reel. And if he somehow loses, yikes, that's reputation napalm right there. Davis has his eyes set on real challenges. He's out here trying to clean out his division, stack up belts, and get his name scribbled next to the all-time greats. Taking a detour to slap around Jake Paul? That's just not it, Chief. Feels like hitting rewind on his career. On Jake Paul's end? Sure, the payday would be fat, like buy a private island fat, but the risk? Off the charts. He'd be stepping in with a dude who's a knockout artist with a PhD in pain. Skill gap the size of the Grand Canyon. If Jake's looking for a reality check, well, this would be it. Let's be real. Yeah, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis would probably be a circus in a ring, but you just know people would eat it up. I mean, Jake's got that army of YouTube stans. Davis has actual boxing cred. And together, that's pay-per-view gold, baby. You'd have influencers, trolls, and old-school fight fans all glued to their screens, hate-watching, doom-scrolling, whatever. The hype machine would be nuts, memes, trash talk, maybe even some fake beef, because why not? Honestly, the personalities alone are enough to keep everyone talking for weeks. Jake running his mouth, Davis being all business. It's a soap opera, not just a fight. Even if everyone and their grandma thinks Davis would mop the floor with Jake, nobody's tuning out. On the money side, this is a no-brainer. Brands would line up, mainstream media would suddenly care about boxing again, and you'd see it all over TikTok and late-night TV. Of course, people would be yelling about whether it's even fair or safe, and yeah, they've got a point. But since when did that stop anyone from buying a ticket? Man, Gervonta "Tank" Davis is just a beast. Dude's never lost, seriously, 0 L's, and it's not like he's padding his record with tomato cans. We're talking legit world champs and top-tier guys, all of them catching hands. Pound for pound, yeah, he's right up there, no question. As for what's next, everybody's buzzing about his next opponent, probably another killer at lightweight or super lightweight. Tank isn't the type to duck anyone. He's chasing those belts and big names like he's got something to prove, even though, honestly, he doesn't at this point. Yeah, I know people love to talk about some circus fight with Jake Paul. Gotta admit, the money would be nuts, but let's get real. Tank's all about legacy, not clout chasing. He wants to beat the best in the business and make sure when people talk about this era, his name comes up first. All right, here's the thing about Jake Paul and boxing. It's kind of wild watching this dude try to bulldoze his way into the sport. He talks a big game about snagging a world title, but honestly, that's a seriously steep mountain to climb. And he's not even halfway up yet. Yeah, he's been fighting, can't deny the hustle, but he's not exactly facing off against seasoned killers. If he wants people to shut up and take him seriously, he's got to stop cherry-picking and start throwing down with actual boxers who know what they're doing, not just influencers or retired MMA guys. Right now, the gap between Jake and the real top dogs, it's like the Grand Canyon. Still, whether he actually makes it or just flames out spectacularly, you can't ignore the circus he's brought to boxing. The guy's pulling new fans in by the truckload, and you got to give him props for making the sport buzz again, even if some purists are probably tearing their hair out. Alright, let's get real for a sec. The thought of Jake Paul squaring up with Gervonta Tank Davis? Yeah, it's wild. Straight up pay-per-view gold, if only for the chaos. But honestly, unless we're living in an alternate universe where weight classes don't exist and experience is just a suggestion, this fight, not happening. Like ever. Jake's been out here shocking everyone. Props to him, the dude trains, and he's got more guts than most. But Tank? The guy's an absolute menace in the lighter divisions. They're living in different boxing galaxies, and I just don't see their orbits ever colliding, unless it's for some over-the-top exhibition where rules are more like guidelines. So yeah, there's my 2 cents on this fantasy matchup. Drop your hottest takes down below. Could Jake even survive a round with Tank? What do you make of their wild career choices so far? Smash that like button if you're into spicy boxing debates. And hey, maybe subscribe so you don't miss out the next time we go off the rails. Catch you later.